Good Monday, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Conversational Daily News. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. We, of course, have your news headlines coming up on this Monday. We have the Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and in today's Entertainment Spotlight, you're being part of my conversation with author Vanessa Riley about her brand new book. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversational Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Monday headlines. In national news, Hurricane Ida strikes Louisiana and Mississippi. Hurricane Ida blasted ashore Sunday as one of the most powerful storms ever to hit the U.S., rushing from the Louisiana coast toward New Orleans and one of the nation's most important industrial corridors. The Category 4 storm, with winds of 150 miles per hour, hit on the same day Hurricane Katrina ravaged Louisiana, Mississippi 16 years earlier, coming ashore about 45 miles west of Category 3 Katrina first struck land. The rising ocean swamped the barrier island of Grand Isle. The hurricane was churning through the far southern Louisiana wetlands, with the more than 2 million people living in and around New Orleans and Baton Rouge up next. This is not the kind of storm that we normally get. This is going to be much stronger than we usually see, and quite frankly, if you had to draw up the worst possible path for Hurricane Louisiana, it would be something very, very close to what we're seeing, said the governor of Louisiana to the Associated Press. Wind tore at awnings and water spilled out from Lake Pontchartrain in New Orleans before noon on Sunday. Officials said Ida's swift intensification from a few thunderstorms to a massive hurricane in just 3 days left no time to organize a mandatory evacuation of the city's 390,000 residents. Along with the oil industry, Ida threatened a region already reeling from a resurgence of COVID-19 infections due to low vaccination rates and the highly contagious Delta variant. New Orleans hospitals plan to ride out the storm with their beds nearly full, as stressed hospitals elsewhere had little room for evacuated patients, and shelters for those fleeing their homes carried an added risk of becoming flashpoints for new infections. Gulfport, Mississippi, to the east of New Orleans, was seeing the ocean rise in heavy rain bands. Empty lots where houses once stood before Katrina are still common in coastal Mississippi. President Joe Biden approved emergency declarations for Louisiana and Mississippi ahead of Ida's arrival. He said Sunday the country was praying for the best for Louisiana and preparing for the worst. In international news, U.S. says drone killed ISIS bombers targeting Kabul airport. A U.S. drone strike blew up a vehicle carrying multiple suicide bombers from Afghanistan's Islamic State affiliate on Sunday before they could attack the ongoing military evacuation at Kabul's international airport, American officials said. An Afghan official said 3 children were also killed in the strike. The strike came just 2 days before the U.S. is set to conclude a massive 2-week-long airlift of more than 114,000 Afghans and foreigners and withdraw the last of its troops, ending America's longest war with the Taliban back in power. The U.S. State Department released a statement signed by around 100 countries, as well as NATO and the European Union, saying they had received assurances from the Taliban that people with travel documents would still be able to leave the country. In a related story, Biden pays respects to U.S. troops killed in Afghanistan. In hushed reverence, President Joe Biden stood witness with grieving families Sunday under a gray sky as one by one, the remains of 13 U.S. troops killed in the Kabul suicide bombing were removed from a military aircraft that brought them home. Biden and his wife Jill met privately with family members of those killed in the suicide attack near the Kabul airport before the president became the 4th commander-in-chief over 2 decades of war to stand at attention at Dover Air Force Base as the remains of the fallen from Afghanistan return home. In more international news, U.S. airlifts aid to Haiti to reach areas hardest hit by quake. U.S. military aircraft are now ferrying food, tarps, and other material into southern Haiti amid a shift in the international relief effort to focus on helping people in the areas hardest hit by the recent earthquake to make it through the hurricane season. In entertainment news, actor Ed Asner, TV's blustery Lou Grant, dies at 91. Ed Asner, the burly and prolific character actor who became a star in middle age as the gruff but lovable newsman Lou Grant, first in the hit comedy The Mary Tyler Moore Show and later in the drama Lou Grant, died on Sunday. Asner's representative confirmed the actor's death in an email to the Associated Press. And finally, more entertainment news. Candyman slashes way towards #1 box office spot. Candyman hooked the top spot at the North American box office. The Universal Pictures film impressively pulled in more than $22 million through a quiet weekend despite concerns over the Delta variant. That made the top 5 movies over the weekend. Number 1, Candyman with $22 million. Number 2, Free Guy with $14 million. Number 3, Paw Patrol with $7 million. Number 4, Jungle Cruise with $5 million. And number 5, Don't Breathe 2 with $3 million. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's our time for the Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich. Mary Ellen, it's all yours.
Hi, this is Mary Ellen with your Truth of the Day. We are all equal. When you understand we are all equal and we are all connected, it will allow you to see there is nothing lacking in your life. It also helps you to understand we are all part of a higher power. Whether you call this higher power God or any other name is irrelevant, because all of us have a piece of this higher power within us. Once you understand this fact, you can let go of your need to compare your life to anyone else's life. Material resources are merely superficial, and outer appearances do not signify spiritual fulfillment. Comparing yourself with others will always result in a feeling of lack. When you look inside to what truly gives you value, you discover the wholeness we all share as we are all connected. Today, look inside to find the higher power that keeps us all connected and equal. As you go about, enjoy the day.
Author Vanessa Riley is featured in today's Entertainment Spotlight right here on Conversations Daily News. For Conversations Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with the Entertainment Spotlight. Author Vanessa Riley rejoined me on Conversations Live, the radio show, to talk about her literary success and her brand new book, Island Queen. Here's a bit of our conversation.
Having watched your success, it's interesting now that you give us Island Queen, where you're able to look at somebody else's success. I want to ask you about that. What was it like for you as you were writing this book and thinking about Doll to also consider your own rise?
This story resonates in so many different ways, Cyrus. Just the freedom to be able to tell Doll's story. When I originally pitched this Island Queen, it was 6 years of research, tracking and finding this woman, and I had this wonderful story, but I didn't think traditional publishing was ready for this story, as told through her voice. So I was at the pitching table in front of my editor, Rachel, at William Morrow, and I pitched this story 3 ways. I pitched it as, well, we could tell the King's Mistress, so we could follow Prince William Henry, and that's the way we get to Dorothy's story. She's like, no, I've heard enough of those stories. I said, okay, we could talk about the 2 Dorothys. So you've got Dorothea Bland, who was one of Prince William Henry's mistresses, and Prince William Henry once again becomes King William IV of England. And then you have Dorothy Kerwin Thomas. She's like, no, tell me about Dorothy. And when I go through and I tell her Dorothy's story, she bots on the table right there, because this woman, she's like, the world needs to hear about this woman, and she needs to be the spotlight. The light needs to be shined on her. We don't need another narrative where she's diluted, she's a background player or the best friend kind of scenario. She's a complicated, complex woman, and the world should never have erased her.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning into this edition of Conversations Daily News, but we'll have the guests on tomorrow for more news, Truth of the Day with Mary Ellen Ciganovich, and of course your Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Daily News today. Let's make it a great one.